Sir, my concern is not whether God is on our side, my greatest concern is to be on God's side, for God is always right. You can fool all the people some of the time, and some of the people all the time, but you cannot fool all the people all the time. No man has a good enough memory to be a successful liar. How many legs does a dog have if you call his tail a leg? 4. Saying that a tail is a leg doesn't make it a leg. The philosophy of the schoolroom in one generation will be the philosophy of government in the next. Government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. Character is like a tree and reputation like a shadow. The shadow is what we think of it, the tree is the real thing. The ballot is stronger than the bullet. All that I am, or hope to be, I owe to my angel mother. Always bear in mind that your own resolution to succeed is more important than any other. I do the very best I know how, the very best I can, and I mean to keep on doing so until the end. Be sure you put your feet in the right place, then stand firm. When I do good I feel good, when I do bad I feel bad, and that's my religion. I am not bound to win, but I am bound to be true. I am not bound to succeed, but I am bound to live by the light that I have. I must stand with anybody that stands right, and stand with him while he is right, and part with him when he goes wrong. We the people are the rightful masters of both Congress and the courts, not to overthrow the Constitution but to overthrow the men who pervert the Constitution. As I would not be a slave, so I would not be a master. This expresses my idea of democracy. My great concern is not whether you have failed, but whether you are content with your failure. I am a firm believer in the people. If given the truth, they can be depended upon to meet any national crisis. The great point is to bring them the real facts. Don't worry when you are not recognized, but strive to be worthy of recognition. The best way to get a bad law repealed is to enforce it strictly. I have always found that mercy bears richer fruits than strict justice. Those who deny freedom to others deserve it not for themselves, and under the rule of a just God, cannot long retain it. This country, with its institutions, belongs to the people who inhabit it. Whenever they shall grow weary of the existing government, they can exercise their constitutional right of amending it, or exercise their revolutionary right to overthrow it. You have to do your own growing no matter how tall your grandfather was. Discourage litigation. Persuade your neighbors to compromise whenever you can. As a peacemaker, the lawyer has superior opportunity of being a good man. There will still be business enough. Marriage is neither heaven nor hell, it is simply purgatory. That some achieve great success, is proof to all that others can achieve it as well. Avoid popularity if you would have peace. He has a right to criticize, who has a heart to help. Labor is prior to, and independent of, capital. Capital is only the fruit of labor, and could never have existed if labor had not first existed. Labor is the superior of capital, and deserves much the higher consideration. Important principles may, and must, be inflexible. Let's have faith that right makes might, and in that faith let us, to the end, dare to do our duty as we understand it. If we could first know where we are, and whither we are tending, we could then better judge what to do, and how to do it. A friend is one who has the same enemies as you have. The shepherd drives the wolf from the sheep's throat, for which the sheep thanks the shepherd as his liberator, while the wolf denounces him for the same act as the destroyer of liberty. Plainly, the sheep and the wolf are not agreed upon a definition of liberty. I do not think much of a man who is not wiser today than he was yesterday. No man is good enough to govern another man without the other's consent. With malice toward none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right, as God gives us to see the right, let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds. We should be too big to take offense and too noble to give it. No matter how much cats fight, there always seem to be plenty of kittens. A house divided against itself cannot stand. Public sentiment is everything. With public sentiment, nothing can fail. Without it, nothing can succeed. Towering genius disdains a beaten path. It seeks regions hitherto unexplored. Don't interfere with anything in the Constitution. That must be maintained, for it is the only safeguard of our liberties. I care not much for a man's religion whose dog and cat are not the better for it. Let not him who is houseless pull down the house of another, but let him work diligently and build one for himself. thus by example assuring that his own shall be safe from violence when built. When I am getting ready to reason with a man, I spend 1/3 of my time thinking about myself and what I am going to say, and 2/3 about him and what he is going to say. Stand with anybody that stands right, stand with him while he is right, and part with him when he goes wrong. True patriotism is better than the wrong kind of piety. The way for a young man to rise is to improve himself in every way he can, never suspecting that anybody wishes to hinder him. If we could first know where we are, and whither we are tending, we could then better judge what to do, and how to do it. A man watches his pear tree day after day, impatient for the ripening of the fruit. Let him attempt to force the process, and he may spoil both fruit and tree. But let him patiently wait, and the ripe pear at length falls into his lap. We here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. When you have got an elephant by the hind legs and he is trying to run away, it's best to let him run. Any people anywhere, being inclined and having the power, have the right to rise up, and shake off the existing government, and form a new one that suits them better. This is a most valuable, a most sacred right, a right, which we hope and believe, is to liberate the world.